Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Disability Channel Today, Detroit. Folks, I am so excited because we have the amazing, unstoppable Tracy Smith here, and she is just telling us great things about, not only everything that she's done in different sports, but also talking about the great adversities and the wonderful accomplishments that she has gotten in the sport of sailing. So amazing, amazing stuff. And Tracy, I mean, again, you talk about, the adversities that you faced, and of course, with the recent events, with the unfortunate events that have happened down there in Florida, because you relocated to train, but then the adversities you went through in order to be able to do so down there. I mean, just an amazing, amazing story that you have. But I also wanted to touch on an important aspect of your life as well, and that's the fact that you are incredibly gifted academically as well, because you've studied and you've finished your degree and you've gotten an MBA, which is amazing. And I really admire that about you as well, because you know, academics is also, I think, just like athletics, it takes a lot of determination and it takes a lot of focus. And so, can you talk about maybe some of the challenges that you faced, going to university, but how you overcame those as well?
Well, g- getting into university or even right from day one, imagining myself as somebody that would get an MBA, that wasn't on my radar because that wasn't the lens that people looked at me with. If I was in a serious car accident, even today, as a four-way amputee, if I was unconscious, people might not even revive me as a hospital, as a
Mm,
doctor, thinking, what kind of quality of life does she have? Unless they recognize me as unstoppable Tracy. And
hmm.
in kindergarten, my first day of school, they said, no, I'm sorry, Tracy can't go to this school. And it was my heart just went whew, if the you can't see it on the camera, but the hair on my arm just stood up, remembering that from the principal.
Mm,
And when my mom, she could have been mama bear. And some of you that are being told no, whether you have a disability or not, when people are naysayers in our life, that we kind of might get our back up. But mom didn't. She kept with her kindest eyes. She just looked at the principal and said, how come? And he
yeah.
explained, right? In the 70s, there weren't support workers. And how does this
Mm,
girl with no hands and no legs and 35-year-olds be managed by one teacher because she's all alone in the 70s? And so
mm,
it made sense. And my mom counteroffered and said, can we just try? And my mom was such a tough nut. She was born in Liverpool, where there was a lot of poverty and a
mm,
lot of strikes after the depression of the war. And so it was very much a suck it up buttercup kind of mother.
yeah.
And so I was the only kid in the school that could tie her shoelaces.
Wow.
And when the principal ran outside to try to find me, I was inside tying 30 shoelaces because my mom told me nobody left behind.
Hmm.
And so, how come the only girl with no hands was the only girl required to be able to tie her shoelaces?
Right.
And so, right, even up until the 30s and 40, I still didn't see myself as someone with a master's in business. It
Hmm.
took me many years in the work. I worked at Air Canada, I worked at Shoppers Drug Mart, I worked at Uber, and that I'm going to go to night school and get my MBA because people are underestimating and they only see no hands, no legs. And I
Mm,
need them to know I'm going to be the shoelace leader, but at a business level, right? And
right.
then John Maxwell voted me number one transformational leader out of 160 countries.
Wow.
And even then, I still had to talk myself into believing that I deserved to go to school for an MBA. Like my biggest naysayer is not the world; it's here. And
Mm,
so once I wake up, I'm okay. And so I don't want to be unstoppable Tracy. I want to be unstoppable Tracy that says all your listeners are unstoppable too. It's us. We are our worst naysayers, not others.
absolutely. I completely agree with you. There's a saying that I was told in high school. It was actually given, it was a bumper sticker that was given to me my final year of high school.
Yeah.
And it was unquoted though, so I'm not sure. I'm telling you folks, I'm just using this quote. I'm not sure who said it because no one knows, but it said attitude is the real disability. And I agree with that. And I think you are a prime example of that as well. And you're exactly right. Attitude and our mental attitude and how we view ourselves and how we get up in the morning and approach a day and approach our goals is so important. Amazing, amazing.
We have kindred spirits, my wrestling athletic friend.
That's right. You've got all the dirt there, Trace. So I got to tell you, yes, I did wrestle for a number of years, and it was a tremendous experience being an athlete. It was great. I mean, I was by no means. I'll tell all my teammates, I was by no means a star or anything like that, but I was so grateful to be a part of the team and to just learn those. Those mental and physical disciplines on and off the mat, and sort of what those lessons do for you later in life in terms of sport. When you face adversities, how you see commonalities there and how to get through them. Absolutely. And it was a tremendous experience, and I love the sport of wrestling. I always will. And, of course, now I joke with everyone, even though, I don't wrestle much anymore. Now I just wrestle with my conscience. Yeah, it was tremendous experience. So thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely. And I wanted to talk about an interesting book that you have too, because I think it's really really awesome. It's called The Unstoppable You, and it basically is a great book for those that are looking for some of these great answers, right? Like for people that really need that extra push and that extra step. So can you talk about your great book, The Unstoppable You?
That's very thoughtful of you. Yeah, I was fundraising for my sailing campaign and skiing campaign and scuba diving. Everything is a little bit more expensive as a four-way amputee. And at the end of all these talks, they're like, "Oh, how'd you do it?" And I'm like, "I didn't know how, but you got to show up." And I end up doing skiing with backwards boots, and you wouldn't have figured that out on a couch at home, right? And they're all like, "Where's your book?" And I'm like, "Oh, as a girl with no hands, writing's not my thing." And I would hear myself say it out loud, and I like, wait a minute, that sounds like an excuse. And so that's no good, right? No excuses, no limits. And that's a bit of a secret. What happened to Tracy? And I was born without my limbs. So I was born limitless, born limitless.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm
I
hoping
love
our
it. Yeah.
listeners are laughing at our insider disability humor.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, born limitless. So,
Yep.
like, no excuses, no limits is the bonus. And they're all like, "Where's your book? Where's your book?" And then I kept making these excuses. So then I couldn't have an excuse anymore of no hands, no writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a book, and I just put on Facebook to my 500 friends. I'm like, I've been challenged to write a book. And then my 500 friends turned into 5,000 friends and 5,000 orders
Oh,
and
nice.
well over 10,000 orders within 9 months.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
hadn't even written or finished writing the book. And I had 10,000 orders for a book that I didn't have, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So it really motivated me to get on it and make a book. But, right at the 11th hour, I promised everybody November 1st, I was doing a big event in February. I got hired to go to Russia to speak to people in Russia, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll have my book for Russia." And
Yeah.
and so I had to have it produced by then. And they're going to print, and I'm on stage in a hotel, and they're calling me and saying, "You need to approve the print. You need to approve the print. We can't go to press until you hit approve."
Yeah.
And then I got this idea. This book was all about me. Me, me, me. And with Magnus, I was like, me, me, me. And I forgot my mom's kindergarten lesson was to ask the principal, "How come?"
Mm.
And when he was worried about being stuck with me, she didn't say she can tie her shoelaces. She said, "Can we just try? If it doesn't work out, no problem," right? She
Right.
really listened. And so he wasn't stuck with me. So he let me try. And so I changed my book in a closet in a hotel on the same day I was supposed to go to the printing press. And I said, I need to add questions about our listeners, right? About my readers. And so I
Yeah.
do have my stories, the kindergarten story, the sailing story. But at the end of every chapter, I ask people reading the book to say, and what about you? What was
Mm,
your roadblock? What
mm.
worked? What didn't? Okay, now you know this. What are you going to do different going and propelling forward to be unstoppable? So I changed it to a workbook
Oh,
as a
that's
result.
awesome. No,
And I literally had like 1 hour. They're like, we're going to press. You got to give us questions. And so in 1 hour, I had to send 10 chapters of 10 questions to get everybody being unstoppable themselves. Not unstoppable, Tracy, unstoppable you.
amazing, amazing. Well, folks, we have to take a quick break, but we will be right back with Tracy.